So regarding my background, I think you have to go back to the story of my family and how they came to the US. I think that's where really it all started. Culturally, my dad and my mom came from Taiwan. They moved to Texas because my dad went to Texas A&M today, and he was doing a master's and a PhD in sort of sports science, kinesiology. And so when he did that, he actually accidentally got my mom pregnant. And so he finished his master's, but then now he has a daughter coming on the way, and he needed to make money. So he decided to start selling in a flea market, kung fu gear. So this is when Bruce Lee was getting popular. And so he literally sold things in a flea market. And from there, he obviously had to quit school, so he couldn't finish his PhD. And then from there, he met a nice, wonderful partner named Joe, and literally Joe from Texas. And then from there, he decided to go into selling pins. So this is hat tack pins. This is sort of American flag pins that the president wears. So he became one of the largest distributors in the South. And this is really interesting because this is what I grew up with. A guy that was an entrepreneur, a guy that was a hard worker, a guy that was working with other people in the community to raise a family. And so that sort of grit, that sort of hard work, that sort of optimism that was in my dad is probably the same background that I have, or it is the background that I have. And I guess that's sort of how I lead my life in a lot of ways, I think, when you reflect on it. You are the child of your parents. And my dad actually, from there, decided to go into real estate. And then he basically said, I wish I had done that earlier because I'm really, really good at real estate. And it's so much easier to invest in real estate than it is to sell one hat tack at a time. And he was a wholesaler, so he sold hundreds of thousands, probably millions, in order to make a few pennies. So for me, it was focus on what you really want to do in your life, because what you don't want to do is spend 30 years doing something that's really hard and in order to make a little money. So there's a lot of business and sort of acumen that he taught me. And then finally, his relationships with other people taught me a lot about sort of thinking much further ahead. So because my dad was really business oriented, he wanted to bring me into a lot of conversations with his friends and my uncles. Basically, I learned to think 2 steps ahead, to think about things that your peers are not thinking about, to think outside of yourself. And so this is sort of more of a holistic view that is really hard to get, and I still think it's really hard to see for a lot of people. But it's, so I think that's my background, starting from my dad sort of coming to the US. In my journey, outside of the professional stuff that I've done, a lot of what builds me as a person was actually spent a lot of time abroad. So I spent time in Mexico, in Paraguay, during my summers of high school and college, doing community development. And then I also spent my summer in Vietnam working with the State Department. So pretty much a lot of my time was actually spent abroad, working in developing countries. So that actually gave me a different point of view on a lot of issues, I think, because I was actually immersed in the culture, immersed with people that are not in the city. And so that viewpoint, like I said, is very unique and very thoughtful, that makes me think of things very different, even in my tech company today. So one of the examples is people build a lot of technology for what they call the Seinfeld problem, which is everyone amongst you is 30-year-old Caucasian male in a big city. And so you build products for that group. The problem is that population is actually really small, and those people actually need the least amount of technology. The people that need the most technology are people that are underserved. And so a lot of my background actually helps me try to work on problems to fix issues that are much bigger than the ones that I'm seeing myself. So I guess in my career and sort of what I've done, a lot of that background actually helps me do what I do today.